Just a few days ago, Mr. Pink and Yellow did a video concerning Joker 2. I'm going to put it in the description box because he cuts to the chase. This is about an erasing of the pro-maleness of the first film. The creator turned around and just backstabbed his own audience. So I'll put this, like I say, you guys can watch this. But in the meantime, I want to respond to Captain Midnight because he's a perfect example of a guy who can't see the forest for the trees, right? So let's hear what he has to say.
Captain Midnight.
The second Joker movie is pretty fascinating. It's a character study with almost nothing new to say about
There's nothing fascinating. Once you understand the motivation that it's anti-male, there's nothing fascinating about it.
its lead character. It's a musical where the songs rarely lead to any interesting musical set pieces, often sung by a lead who, at least in this role, can't really sing. It's a courtroom drama with an incredibly twist-free, cut-and-dry case at its center. It's a twisted romance where the leads have almost no romantic chemistry. And
Of course, Captain Midnight. They don't want to show something enjoyable to men, right? They don't want the woman and the guy to actually like one another, or at least they don't want the woman to like the guy.
it's a Joker movie without any of the things people have historically enjoyed about the Joker.
When you say people, you mean men. The original Joker was loved by men. Women were at best indifferent to it. And there's a reason for it. It's because, as Mr. Pink and Yellow pointed out, Captain Midnight, is that Joker was a stand-in for abused men, abused mentally ill men. He was a stand-in. It really wasn't a Joker film. It was a film about the guys who are down and out, and actually put them in a good light. And so they're erasing that now.
I think doing just one of those things well would have gone a long way, especially when you consider that the movie, with a shout out to cinematographer Lauren Scher, looks pretty great. But as it stands, this was a rough sit. Not without its worthwhile scenes, moments, and images, but disastrous as a coherent whole. Before I get into that, I should say there will be spoilers. Also,
It's not a coherent whole, eh? It's very coherent. It's saying, screw you guys who love this film.
I'd really love to hit that 680k subscriber count, so click that subscribe button.
Well, look like you did.
Let's start with that.
Hey, you know why you reached that high? Because you're a typical guy who doesn't get what's going on, right?
Character bit I mentioned. The first Joker movie was always going to be difficult to make a sequel to, because it's hard to imagine that character going much of anywhere after the events of the first film.
No, I disagree. That was the beginning of the Joker. He could have had his own gang and run roughshod in the city, just like in the Batman films. So you're just wrong.
Arthur Fleck was never a genius. There was no method to his madness beyond his pain and his violent impulses. He is not, in other words, a character that you can put any kind of traditional Batman.
But he didn't really have any violent impulses to the end. It took him a lifetime of abuse to get there. Captain Midnight. That's why it resonated. These down and out guys in real life who just want to do right by their society and have society do right by them, they finally lashed out. Arthur Fleck is actually naturally passive.
Esque story around and have him play the role that the Joker usually does. He's not the clown prince of crime. He's a very sad, abused man lashing out at the world without any kind of grand plan.
Well, there you go. Thank you for admitting that. That's why he was a stand-in for guys who were down and out. I can't say the average man. This is like the very bottom. That's why guys connected with this film. The average guy is actually dropping down to that level. The homelessness for men is increasing. Captain Midnight. The unemployment for men is increasing. The Me Too train is going strong. Single motherhood is off the charts. Captain Midnight.
This movie is well aware of that and leans into it. Boy, does it ever. And I don't think what it comes up with will satisfy many viewers. Arthur Fleck is
Well, duh. It's made to spit in the male fans who enjoyed it in the first place. Genius.
at the center of this story, but he rarely makes any really active choices in it. Whether it's being left
Of course not. Midnight. They don't want him to have any active choices. They don't want the Joker to have agency because he's male. That's the whole point. They want to say that men are pathetic.
led around Arkham, being told what he needs to do by his defense attorney, or being manipulated by Harley Quinn, Arthur himself
So his defense attorney, that was a woman? Okay. So he's been bossed around by a woman and he's being bossed around by another woman. Right. Exactly. It's taking anything that the Joker could have done. Like when he shot that guy at the end of the first film, that was him taking a stand. And so now they're erasing that, Captain Midnight.
rarely has much agency. The most shocking moments in the movie, the courthouse explosion and Arthur's death, are both executed by people almost entirely outside of the actual narrative, making important choices off screen, presumably as we watch Arthur sing into a telephone. Now there's a case to be made that that's very purposeful, that Arthur
It's not a case to be made. It is purposeful. The creator said, screw you to the fans. He said so. Jeez. There's no deep analysis to this, Captain Midnight.
has come to represent something much bigger than himself, something he's not fully comfortable with. This idea seems to be what director Todd Phillips had in mind, saying about Arthur, quote, "He's never been this Joker that's been put upon him, this idea that Gotham people put upon him, that he represents. He's an unwitting icon."
Yeah, so, but that spoke to men originally. Because men could say, look, it's not my fault. I'm just a leaf being blown in the wind. But this is different. This is about taking any agency out of the Joker character.
And honestly, I think it's this, maybe even more so than the poorly received musical numbers, that has people so frustrated with this movie. Because
Men most frustrated. They're the ones who connected with the first film. Don't try and make this gender neutral.
I'm sorry, this just feels wildly untrue from a dramatic standpoint. It's a sloppy retcon that completely defangs the climax of the last movie. Like,
There you go, Captain Midnight. It defangs what happened at the end of the film, the original film. That's its purpose. Because guys cheered when Arthur Fleck here zapped that disgusting creep who bullied him and punched down. He was abused by that guy, so he fought back. So they want to make sure that's erased. Do you understand that? Will this ever sink through? Like Mr. Pink and Yellow here says, where is he? He said, men lack class consciousness. And you're a perfect example. You lack the consciousness to see what's going on in this film. The simple motivation. There's no depth to this film because there's no depth to the motivation. The motivation is male hatred. It's misandry, period. Okay? Look at this. Joker 2 creator critiques males. No, he doesn't critique, he bashes them, right? According to recent reviews and analysis, Todd Phillips, the director of Joker 2, has been criticized for his perceived disdain towards the male audience. It's not perceived, it is there. He does. The movie's box office performance suggests the primary audience was women over 25. See that? It was made for women. It was made to say, hey, these guys, I'm going to show them their place. You're down and out, and you're mentally ill man who gets abused, who wants to do right by his society and gets abused. You are not supposed to ever lash out. You were supposed to just take it until you die. That's what this is about, Captain Midnight. Now I'll zip a little further ahead, see if there's anything worthwhile. Yes, there might be nothing, guys. I'll be right there. Yeah, there is something important. Right here, he's just going to support what I just said.
Comparison wasn't meant to be one to one or anything. I'm not saying Arthur should have come out in this movie and suddenly been a Michael like criminal genius. That's not who Arthur is. But to rob him entirely of his conviction, of his disturbing anger and impulsive drive, is to completely cop out on what the ending of that first movie was.
Thank you. So you recognize it. Those are the trees. What's the forest? Midnight. Misandry. That's why he was defanged. Like Mr. Pink and Yellow, I'm giving him credit again. The first Joker film was a pro-male movie snuck in. And now this one is a complete reversal of it. This is how society views men. This is how they view me. That's how they view you, Captain Midnight. This is how society views you. So if you're ever down and out, you're supposed to be like Arthur Fleck in the second film. Be powerless, never lash out, and then get zapped at the end. Because you're a surplus male. I think I've said what I need to say here.